Within 90 minutes, she signed off for me to receive testosterone and meet with a surgeon named Winnie Tong. The mastectomy was explained to me at 12 using watered-down terms like top surgery. I was told I would never be able to chest feed. I was told I might lose sensation, but to me, at 12, that equated to numbness.
All right, guys, we're back here for another Normal Gays React video with TikTok extraordinaire Clarkson Lawson.
Hey,
Clarkson,
guys.
we got to talk about that thing that never ever happens. Surgeries on minors who are identified as trans. I've been told many times it's not a thing. It isn't real.
Oh, yeah, it never happens. And when it does, it's like one person in the entire world. It's just not even worth talking about, for sure.
Yeah, it never happens, but also we can't ban it because that would be terrible.
Right.
No, but in all seriousness, we're going to react to a clip from a recent hearing that was held by the Federal Trade Commission, which obviously is part of the Trump administration, where they're examining some of these practices. And we're going to listen to the testimony of one young woman who was medicalized at age 13 and actually had a double mastectomy. It's a really heartbreaking story, but it's important to talk about, and frankly, something that our community needs to reckon with. So let's take a look at her video.
Hello and good morning to everyone here. My name is Kayla Lefdahl. I go by Layla Jane online, and I am a survivor of gender medicine or a detransitioner. I am someone who has been dosed with Lupron and testosterone starting at 12. I received a bilateral mastectomy just 1 month after my 13th birthday. I went straight from training bras to binding, straight to the operating table at 13.
So that's right. Both healthy breasts cut off in the name of youth gender medicine at age 13.
13 years old. And what's crazy is that when I was, I want to say like maybe 10, I was convinced that I was a girl too. So thankfully, like, I think about this every day. I'm like, thank God that I didn't grow up in this time, because I don't know what my parents would have done if they were super progressive, because this is like, I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot of young gay men and women that could fall into this. And it's not this hard, stringent process where you go in and you go through all these different appointments to make sure this is something that you want to do. It happens quickly.
Yeah, it used to be more like that, but it definitely isn't that way anymore, at least not in a lot of places. And there's all these confounding factors that cause issues that then get mistaken for, I'm trans or what have you. And she talks about a couple of those. Let's keep listening.
It was because I had undiagnosed autism and unaddressed childhood sexual trauma. I was scared to become a woman. I was getting unwanted male attention, which made me fearful of being victimized again. I had sensory issues I didn't know how to cope with when I began menstruating and needing bras. I learned about transgenderism at 11, and I thought maybe that was the reason I was so uncomfortable.
Comorbidities, they're always there, aren't they? And it sucks saying that, because that's what people used to say about being gay. They would always say, being gay is caused by something. It's caused by some type of trauma, blah, blah, blah. But in this specific case, there's medical intervention that happens. And there are comorbidities that clearly lead to this. Like, I mean, she even said it herself. If she was unfortunately, sexually traumatized and she doesn't want to be a woman, this gender ideology can kind of come in as the saving grace to a young person to avoid going through that process and healing from that trauma. It's sick, really.
Yeah, I think a lot that is why we have a lot of the feminist pushback to it, is that some of the people, there's a book about this, Irreversible Damage by Abigail Schreier. Some of the people like most caught up in this are young females, because the world can still be a tough place to be a young female, a young woman. And especially when you have confounding issues like trauma or autism or ADHD or other things, I mean, you can end up mistaking your symptoms for gender dysphoria when they're not. Alternatively, you could also be doing the wrong thing by going down this path of medically transitioning rather than treating those underlying issues. I talked to a psychologist about that recently. He said part of the problem with gender affirming care is not just that the evidence doesn't support it for minors, but also that the actual conditions they often have as well do have evidence-based treatments, but in lieu of that, they just pursue transition. But I really, even if she was somebody who was genuinely trans, who would have gender dysphoria, through their whole life, no one at 13 years old can consent to having their healthy breasts removed. That is insane.
It's predatory. It's like it kind of leaves me speechless because it's crazy that we even have to talk about this, that this is like, if 10 years ago you would have told me that this was going to be something that politics was focused around, I would say you were crazy, because
Yeah.
this is just insane.
And it is rare, but there still have been thousands of teen girls who've had these surgeries done. You can look at insurance filings.
But it's not rare for people to support it, and I think that that's
Yes.
that's what needs to be highlighted, because it is rare, but if you support it and you're on the left, that's just common, and I genuinely don't understand how that can. There's no scientific, well, not anymore. There's not scientific evidence to prove it, and it just defies common sense.
You also think that particularly people on the left should be aware of some of the problems here. Listen to what she describes.
I brought the idea of the therapist I'd been seeing, and she immediately affirmed me, gave me a diagnosis of gender dysphoria, and once I told my parents, she began writing referrals for doctors specializing in pediatric transition care. Never along the way did anyone question why I suddenly wanted to become a boy. They didn't comprehensively screen me for mental health disorders or ask me about any prior trauma. I saw Suzanne Watson in Kaiser Oakland's Proud Clinic, and within 90 minutes, she signed off for me to receive testosterone and meet with a surgeon named Winnie Tong. The mastectomy was explained to me at 12 using watered-down terms like top surgery. I was told I would never be able to chest feed. I was told I might lose sensation, but to me, at 12, that equated to numbness. But today I deal with nerve pain, extreme slicing sensations, electrical zaps, and itchiness. I could scratch my skin until I bleed, but with no relief because the skin is numb and doesn't register touch. However, the nerves underneath are erratic.
I feel so bad for this young woman.
This is really hard to listen to. It's no wonder, and I know that this doesn't happen a lot, and I get into arguments with people on the left and on the right about this, because people on the right would think that, every kid on the playground is getting their tits chopped off. But people on the left, they're like, well, it's not happening that much. But then when you hear stories like this, it's like, well, it's happening, period. And it's very hard for me to just justify any of this
because they would say, well, it doesn't happen much. And they say, my response is, okay, then why do you object to banning it?
Well, yeah, and I mean, the whole thing about the left is that they're for minorities. Well, detransitioners are the minority of the minority. So wouldn't you be supporting their stories being heard, or do minorities not actually matter in this case because they go against, the nonprofits that are funneling money into your campaigns?
Yeah, well, and a lot of Democrats and progressives, I had one on my podcast, the Bread versus Everyone podcast on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, or Spotify, not too long ago, and he earnestly believed, and I believe him, that when he said he believed this is Adam Mockler, that kids only get this stuff after intense gatekeeping, multiple doctors, multiple therapists, years of treatment. He's like, and then maybe they get something like this. I'm like, that is just not true. I mean, the problem is it's like a big diverse country. So I'm sure there are some clinics where that's still the case, or some hospitals where that's still the case. But people can walk into a Planned Parenthood and walk out with hormones. Like, it's not uniform, and there is this easy access. And frankly, I don't care if you have years of counseling. A 13-year-old should still never have this procedure.
Well, yeah, and that mindset also just goes against our healthcare system in general. Everybody knows, even with my ADD, I have a great doctor for my ADD now, but very easily, if I wanted to go and get prescribed a different medication or get overprescribed it, there's doctors everywhere that do that. There's doctors who move quickly because convenience is currency. So I think that, especially for somebody on the left who complains about capitalistic healthcare, they should be the first people to realize that this system would exploit young people in pursuit of profit.
Yeah, and one of the disturbing things is that with this pipeline, once you start, there's really no resources or support or options for you to get off of it. So once you go down this road at 12 or 13 or whatever, it's like, well, then what? Well, there's really only one destination. She was even scared to go back to her doctors. Listen to this.
The Lupron essentially put my body in menopause. I gained weight. My psychiatric issues flared up. I experienced intense hot flashes, which made it really difficult to focus on my 7th grade homework. Today, I live with chronic joint pain. I'm only 20. At no point along the way was I offered an off-ramp. I didn't even know what detransition was until I was almost 18 and began to taper myself off the hormones, scared to go back to the doctors. Even at 18, I called member services and requested my name and gender marker be switched back and to receive a new insurance card to reflect that change. Weeks later, I received one in the mail with my male name. I'm here today to speak out against gender-affirming medical practices for minors. We are letting vulnerable children be irreversibly harmed by a medical system that affirms without asking why. We need to protect children from these rushed experimental interventions. Let kids grow up whole. Thank you.
So shout out to her for sharing her story. I mean, I'm sure it's embarrassing and vulnerable, and to talk about your health issues like that publicly must be really hard, but it's really important. I mean, this is one of the areas where I think the Trump administration is at least moving in the right direction in a course correction, but will they listen? Will they acknowledge that this is barbaric, that this does in fact happen? I really don't know that they will.
I don't know. Watching you on CNN talk about this kind of proved to me that that was not the case. And as somebody who's kind of, I don't even know really where I align, whether it's the right or the left. This issue specifically is one that turns voters off from the Democratic Party, period. And it's not because it's the top issue of the country. It's because it's just they're just blatantly on the wrong side. It just defies all forms of common sense. And how is a voter, especially a less educated voter, going to trust you when you talk about how to handle the economy if you are saying, yeah, let's chop off the breast of a healthy minor? Like, nobody's going to trust what they're saying. And it's unfortunate because the Democrats do, in my opinion, have some good ideas. But if they don't start to stop catering to the radical, like, activist nonprofits, I don't know how they can come back from it.
Yeah, I mean, I also think the issue is that if you allow this to be conflated with gay people and gay rights, oh, it's all part of LGBTQ rights, including, chopping the healthy breasts off 13-year-olds, putting 12-year-olds on Lupron. Americans are going to be like, nah, F all of that. And that's part of why
you already are. You know what I mean? Like, look at the support for gay marriage. It's adoption. Now it's gay marriage is a conversation. All of this stuff, like, it's the whole Pandora's box has been opened because of this issue that frankly has nothing to do with us. And these poor kids.
It has nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
Doing this to a teen girl has nothing to do with me, my rights, my acceptance. I will never accept that. And but I do think it's on us. The onus is on us to condemn it and reject it. And as long as like Gay Inc. and gay celebrities support this, I mean, the ship's going to keep sinking.
I know. Well, I don't think that anybody actually realizes what's going on because it's just a virtue signal. It's like, I support trans people, I support gay people, I want to tell everybody that I do, but they don't actually look into their opinions before they virtue signal them. They don't have to. They're on the side of, popular opinion. The internet loves those opinions. So there's really no reason for them to actually watch that girl's interview. And I think it really just has to do with lack of education. Rather than them being immoral, I think if everybody got the education that we have by just watching that video, I think some opinions would change for sure.
Yeah, guys. So sorry to kill the vibe with such a serious and frankly dark video, but it's important, and it's on us, sane people in the LGBT category, to distance ourselves from this kind of injustice. So comment with your thoughts, hit that like button while you're at it, subscribe to Clarkson's YouTube channel, linked in the description, and stay tuned for more Normal Gays content coming up soon.